What's up, guys? Today I have a video for y'all. We're going to be installing these 3-inch level pucks and KSP upper control arms. They're both from KSP. This is my brother's truck. He just turned 16 and he's gonna be building it, so I'm gonna have a whole series on this for y'all. I will have a link in the description on both of these KSP parts, and I'll be showing you step by step how to do it. So let us get this in the garage and we'll start on the project. As I mentioned before, guys, he did buy both his upper control arms and the leveling pucks from KSP, and I've heard super good things from them, so we're going to give them a try. These are extended upper control arms, so once you level your truck anything probably over 2 inches, you want to get extended upper control arms to make up for the ball joint angle and get a better ride quality, and your ball joints will last longer. We also grabbed some satin black spray paint to clean up the frame, make it look real good under there, and we bought some grease to grease the new fittings on the control arms as well. All right, guys, first thing you're going to want to do is take a 10mm bolt and loosen the brake line brackets and the ABS sensor brackets. There's a 10mm right here and a 10mm right here. All right, guys, next step's going to be removing your sway bar end link, and for us it is a 16mm on top and a 15mm on bottom. All right, guys, y'all might have to grab your persuader out of the toolbox and persuade it out of there. Just like that. Come out pretty easy. It should pull out now. Next step's going to be a 13/16 on the tie rod. You're going to want to take your persuader and try to hit it on the side. If you're having trouble with the tie rod, it might be useful to get one of these forks, and you just want to hit it on the end until it eventually pops off. All right, guys, we had a little bit of trouble with ours, but we got a sledgehammer and used some WD-40, and it eventually went, but you might just have to keep trying. Sometimes they are definitely a little bit hard to get out of there. Next step is going to be 3 18mm nuts on top of the strut. Next step's going to be 2 15mm on the bottom of the strut. Next step is going to be hand loosening your upper ball joint nut. You want to hand loosen it because if you put an impact on it sometimes, it wants to free spin and you'll have yourself a big mess. So just slow and easy. Work it off with a 18mm wrench. Then your next step will be hammering on this like you did with the tie rod end to get it to pop loose. Once you got that done, it should just fall down like this. Luckily, this one went out a lot easier than the tie rod end did. Next step's going to be loosening that top nut all the way and then push your strut out of the assembly. It should fall out just like that. Next step is going to be marking your alignment so it's close when you put the truck back together, and you'll be removing your upper control arm bolts. We're using a 21 on the bolt head side and a 7/8 wrench on the nut side. These are going to be a 21, and you just have to loosen just the nut side. Before you take the upper control arm all the way out, you are going to want to finish loosening up the upper control arm ball joint nut. You're just going to want to easily set this down out of the way. Next thing will be just tapping out your camber bolts with the hammer, and then your upper control arm should just come right out. All right, guys, we got this side fully taken apart, you're going to want to do everything we just did to this side on the other side. But for now, we're going to sand and paint everything and clean everything so it looks real nice up in here. And I'll make sure to get y'all some cool time lapses on that. All right, guys, it's the next day, and as you can see, we got everything cleaned up and painted, so it looks a whole lot better when we put it back together. With this KSP kit, it comes with the poly bushings that you have to press into the control arms. It also comes with grease fittings to grease the bushings that you will screw in right here. You'll also want to put a grease gun on this grease fitting on the ball joint. I think you're supposed to use different grease, but we just got multi-purpose grease. It'll do the job just good. See, it has suspension parts on it right there. Also for the pucks, we have to install these studs that are in here. They just screw in. So I got a time lapse doing all that. Also, these sleeves go in these bushings, and that's what your bolt will slide through, will be this black sleeve. All right, guys, I just pressed mine in by hand. Some people are saying you have to use a vise. You might have to. I just greased mine up really good and they slid right in. Next, you'll have to be installing these sleeves inside the center of your bushings, and that's what your bolt will slide through, this black sleeve. So this is your next step. All right, guys, I installed the sleeves off camera. It wasn't hard. It took like another 30 seconds. I just put them in by hand. I pecked them with a hammer just a little bit to get them completely flat, but it wasn't hard at all. Then I screwed in my grease fittings. I accidentally broke one, but it's not a big deal at all. Next step will be greasing your ball joints. So that's what we'll do right now. So we got the control arms fully put together and they are all greased. Next step is going to be installing your pucks onto the actual strut itself. So I will be showing you that here in a second. All right, guys, we got the level pucks installed on the struts. It just sits down. It only goes one way on the strut. And then you use the supplied nuts and then just tighten it on there with the impact. And then they are ready to reinstall. All right, guys, you'll want to go ahead and install your new upper control arm before you put the strut in. That way you can get to your camber bolts, and you also want to make sure that you align your camber pin with the marks that you marked before you took them off. Okay, we have the new strut held up there. Next, you're going to want to take a pry bar and get it pried on top of these, where these are sitting up on top of here. And you'll want to get a jack up under the lower ball joint to compress it, and then tighten it up so it's tightened up under load. I will show you that here in a second. Once you got your strut under some load, then you can go ahead and tighten up those top nuts up there. That is a 18. Once that is done, then you can go ahead and take your 15 mil and tighten up the 2 bolts on bottom of the strut. But also, before you want to do that, you want to go ahead and get your upper control arm at least lined up with the spindle hole and your tie rod. Next, you'll want to do your tie rod and hand tighten this, like I said before, so it don't start spinning on you and give you a mess. That should be a 13/16. Next, you'll be tightening up your upper ball joint. Once you tighten the upper ball joint, next step will be tightening your sway bar end link and reinstalling it. Like I said, for us, it was a 16 on top and a 15 on bottom. Once you finish the sway bar end link, next will be putting back on your brackets, and then while it's under load, you want to make sure everything is tightened up, and then you should be done. Just repeat everything we did on the other side. Alright guys, here's the first look at it. I think it looks great and I love it. Wasn't too bad at all. And like I said, I'll drop the link to the description down in the parts, and I'll throw a before and after up right now.